This is a prepaid call from
Gerald.
a prisoner at the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Hello.
Hey, I've been calling you.
Hey, I picked up just now.
Yeah, you did. Hey, I worked on something. I wanna run with it.
Okay. I'm gonna put myself on mute, and you can introduce yourself and take the time.
Okay, I'm gonna read what I wrote. You ready?
You can go now.
Hello. My name is Lavish the Activist, Lyman. And at this current time, I'm an inmate of the MDOC, Michigan Department of Correction. Even though I am incarcerated, I'm an activist on a mission to save children whose lives have worth and importance in life from causing themselves self-inflicted hardship. And most importantly, I'm on a mission to finally give men the healing we have been in dire need of, who was a victim of the most devastating and detrimental thing that could ever be done to a male, which is that of being sexually molested as a child. Men are not allowed to talk about being a victim. Society as a whole has not come to that place where it is okay for a man to be able to talk about being a victim. From birth, males are taught the old saying, suck it up and just deal with it. That type of thinking has caused so many men to go through life suffering in silence from the pain, shame, and loneliness of being a victim of being sexually molested, causing us to victimize others in some way or another. As a child, all I wanted to do with my life was save lives and become a scientist so I could create something where people live forever. But due to the devastating and detrimental sexual molesting I was a victim of as a child, harm and scars have left me suffering from complex PTSD, anxiety, depression, suicidal, and homicidal thoughts. I found myself living life trying to protect the little boy within me from further trauma. I say the little boy within me because due to the trauma I endured as a child, I found myself living life frozen in the time period of the senseless trauma that was inflicted upon me. I was physically grown, but mentally and emotionally undeveloped. I joined the military when I graduated high school. I was discharged from the military a couple of weeks from graduating boot camp because of what I told the psych. I told the psych how I had spent my life wanting to tie up and take a pair of fingernail clippers, pick the skin off of everyone that had ever sexually molested a child. I wanted them to feel the pain that I live with on a day-to-day basis due to the sexual trauma I experienced as a child. So during this time, I found myself compelled to share my story in the dad class I was a part of. I spent my life thinking that I was the only one that had gone through that as a male. Upon sharing my story in the dad class, I found out I was not the only one who had been through what I had been through. Different men finding me on the yard to share with me the story of being sexually molested as a child. I thought I had been through the worst story ever until other guys shared their story with me. Some stories were so bad that I would be thinking to myself, I don't think I would have ever had the courage to share with anyone what some of the men had been through. I would have taken it to the grave, but sharing my story caused so many men to share with me the devastating and detrimental trauma they went through. I have since shared my story at times with other men I come across. I have been shocked to find out there are an overwhelming number of men in prison who have experienced the same devastating and detrimental trauma I had. Spending their lives just as I have, tried to protect the little boy within that never grew up due to the trauma that left the little boy within frozen in time from further senseless harm and scars. The men I have met are just like me, are really not bad men, but we have done unrighteous, bad, criminal, guilty of wrong things trying to protect the little boy within from further pain. I spent my life trying to stop people from getting too close to me so they would not see the river of tears that constantly ran down the back of my eyes. Here's the reason I have really found the courage to speak up. I had a guy from the dad class come up to me and ask me would I want to do a one-on-one with this guy who was in prison for sexually molesting his daughter. He said he don't know why the guy came to him and told him why he was in prison, but he felt compelled that to come ask me to do a one-on-one with the guy. He felt it would be good for my healing and the guy would hear the effects he caused his victim. By me speaking as his victim and he as the one who molested me, as I started to share my story, the guy started crying saying how sorry he was for what had happened to me. He said he was so happy that his victim, which was his daughter, had the courage to speak up and tell someone. He asked me, had I told anyone in my family? I said I told my mother when I was about 30 years old, and she left me feeling like I wish I had never said anything to her. The guy said I should have said something because I don't know who else my molester had molested because I didn't say anything. So he said I should have said something when I was much younger. Recently sharing my story with an inmate who I come to find out he was also sexually molested as a child by a family member who years later is now in prison because of someone else he has also molested years later. I told the guy he could have saved that from happening if he had said something, just if I had. This caused me to initiate the Speak Up and Be Counted movement, an organization I had my people to start, where men speak up what happened to them as a child, so people can see how many men this has happened to, and to save this from happening to another young life. And most importantly, give men a safe haven and judgment-free zone where they can heal and go from victim to victory, allowing the little boy to finally grow into the man he always wanted to be. Due to me not having the courage to speak up, I caused myself so much self-inflicted harm. Being sexually molested is one way a child causes themselves self-inflicted harm. There are so many other ways people grow up causing themselves self-inflicted harm. I am an activist on a mission to save children from as much self-inflicted hardship as I can. I am also looking for you who would like to support the calling given to me. If so, contact me, Lavris, Lavris Lyman, Lyman, at jpay.com. Most importantly, encourage men to hashtag Speak Up and Be Counted. As you may have heard, this is something that I had to write down because it was so hard for me to even talk about. And as I was reading this, it was even difficult to even find myself sharing this with whoever is listening. At the same time, it's still hard to speak about this in such of a setting that I'm in at this current time. But I just felt it was something that I had to do because it's time for men to speak up and be counted. Thank you.